Good morning, I'm Nicola Bown, the curate at Great Shelford. Today is Palm Sunday, the Sunday before Easter, the Sunday when we retell the story of Jesus's triumphal entry into Jerusalem, and we think about the coming week ahead as we journey to the cross with him. This morning I haven't got a palm cross as I would normally do, and we're not having a procession around the church as we would normally do, but I've tied branches to my front door to show the world that I am keeping faith with this day. Here's my reflection for today on our gospel reading, which tells the story as told by Matthew, from the Gospel of Matthew, of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. Jesus is getting ready to enter Jerusalem. It's nearly Passover, and people will be travelling from all over Judea to visit the temple. Jerusalem's always a busy, bustling city, and now it will be even more so. The occupying Roman forces won't take any chances at such a time. Extra soldiers have been deployed and all leave cancelled. It's not quite a city in lockdown, but it's a dangerous place to be if you step out of line. Jesus stops just outside the village of Bethphage, just outside Jerusalem, and sends his disciples to find a colt and a donkey. He's planning to make an entrance, a significant entrance. He knows, because he knows his history and he knows his scriptures, that when kings come into Jerusalem, they don't ride a horse. Horses were used for battle, and they were for Roman rulers. Jesus knows that Jewish kings come into Jerusalem riding a colt or a donkey. And that is what he's going to do. By the time he rides up the road towards the great gates, a crowd has gathered, a really big crowd. Crowds have followed Jesus around the countryside as he taught and preached and healed. Now, more people flood out of Jerusalem and see this man riding in on a donkey. And they know what the sign means. The king that they're longing for. The king who's going to set them free. The king who's going to get rid of the Romans and restore to them the independent and proud kingdom that they've lost. They are incandescent with joy and triumph. They aren't rich, these people. They're poor. The ones the Romans have taxed till it hurt. The ones who haven't managed to rub along with the ruling regime. The ones who have fallen by the wayside. Beggars. Widows. Orphans. Tax collectors. The forgotten and despised. They don't have much to welcome him with. No banners or trumpets. So they cut branches from the trees and wave them. They lay their ragged cloaks on the ground for him to walk on. They cry, Hosanna! They hail him as king in the line of David. They call him blessed. They're destined to be disappointed. He's not going to be the kind of king they want. He's not going to be the kind of king who will fight the Romans and take power and bring back the good old days. Their disappointment will turn to anger, to vindictive rage. It will drive him to his death. In this moment, of pause before Holy Week, when we really relive the joy and triumph of Jesus' entry into Jerusalem, it's worth us asking what kind of king Jesus is for us. He's not a fantasy king who will make everything all right and tell us that the terrible times that we're living in are just a bad dream. Jesus' own death showed that he walked straight into the worst that his world could do to him. But when he did that, he showed us that the things that we in this world that we often take as king, the things that rule in this world, don't have the last word. Money is not king. Beauty and talent are not king. Privilege is not king, and power is not king. The virus is not king. Fear is not king, and death is not king. The kingship of Jesus Christ is that he emptied himself and walked into the hands of the powerful, into the jaws of death, to bring us hope. Jesus came into Jerusalem and to his death, so that we might know that there is a greater king than power and might, a greater king than money and influence, a greater king than fear, and a greater king than death. As we journey through Holy Week to the cross, it's worth remembering that amidst this time of fear, of confinement, of loneliness, and of death that we are living through, that Jesus walks beside us in order to give us hope that these things are not the end. So we pray today's special prayer for today. True and humble King, hailed by crowds as a Messiah, grant us the faith to know and love you, that we may be beside you on the way of the cross, which is the path of glory. Amen.